Here's some guidance for quiz 7. These right here are just straight from the lecture, so make sure you read the previous lectures to fill that in. That's obvious. You shouldn't need any guidance for that. The application is a little trickier. If you practice some of the exercises at the end of each of the chapters, you should have gotten some sense of this, and then remember the answers are in the back of the book anyway. But in case you gave this a shot and you were a little confused, and that's good, that's intentional, let me give you some guidance anyway. So the question is this going to be belief type or frequency type? I'm not looking for the subclassifications, just the major ones. So the likelihood of avian flu pandemic is 80%. That looks like a fact in the world, right? Remember, you get the two types. Either belief type is all about you, it's about your personal beliefs, or frequency type, which is out there in the world. That's sort of the rough way to characterize it. So avian flu pandemic is basically the spread of a virus that goes crazy, like all those zombie movies you guys see nowadays, which is based sort of on fiction, but not exactly. Epidemiologists, or those who study the outbreak of diseases, says we're overdue, and we're overdue for a major one, especially given the population and the ways in which viruses are mutating. We're headed for most likely a major outbreak of a really serious virus, and sometime soon, whatever that means. So this looks like an objective statement. So you might say this is frequency type, right? But not quite. The reason is simple. Avian flu is avian bird, right? If you remember the bird flu, this was talked about a couple years back. You guys should be old enough to remember this. It was in Asia, and they were worried that this thing, once it crosses what's called the species barrier, it goes from one species to another, say human beings. The tendency is it takes off like wildfire, and it just breaks out, and it's really hard to combat, and it tends to be deadly. That's the tendency that happens when viruses cross the species barrier. So they were worried in certain birds this was happening. People, it seemed to cross the species barrier. Some people were getting it. They think from like eating certain things they weren't supposed to eat. So speculation was this was in China. They don't know for sure. I think they did pinpoint it, but anyway. So the World Health Organization came in. They swooped down, and they're really worried that this might cause a pandemic. And so you might think, well, that's objectively in the world. The virus is in the world, but the pandemic never actually happened. So this is a one-off event. It's not only did it not happen, there's no past evidence for this, and they're worried that this might happen. So even though this looks like a frequency type event, frequency requires a long run of something. That must mean there's either a past history or a future trajectory of this. And in this case, this has never happened in the past. There might be similar types, but not this particular avian flu. And it's so they don't know. So this statement right here is actually best interpreted as a belief type statement. It just looks like it's objectively couched, but it's coming from, let's say, a World Health Organization doctor who's saying, my estimation based on my experience is that the likelihood of this happening is 80%. But it really is just a belief type. Okay? Now the next one. The doctor stated that the probability that the flu vaccine will prevent sickness in elderly people is 50%. Okay? Let's suppose you read that in the papers. So you might say, oh, this is belief type because the doctor stated this. So that's his personal belief. But not quite. Why? Using the same reasoning as above here, the flu vaccine has been around for a while, and it's not just one, it changes over the years, right? And they have statistics on this. They measure what happens in the past when those who took it, the incidence of, say, sicknesses that arose, and as a result, they have pretty good data on this from the past, and they can project that to the future. So this is a matter of population. It's a matter of what's out there, as it were, in the world. So even though the doctor stated this, this is best interpreted as a frequency type probability statement, because what it's saying is, let's say the 50% here, if that's accurate, it's not, but let's suppose it is. What that would reflect is in 50% of documented cases where elderly people took this vaccine, there was a reduction or a prevention of sickness for those who did this, and we have data indicating this. And we've got, let's say, 500 million people in all the years that we've documented this stuff. And of that, for 500 million, 250 million did not get sick. So that's what the 50% means. It's a frequency type. That's one way in which you can interpret it. This one can actually go both ways because you could say this reflects evidence that the doctor is giving you. But if you're going to state that, you just have to provide some background. You have to say, well, the doctor stated is probably based on evidence he's gotten from medical journals and maybe other epidemiologists, and so this is belief type for that reason. This one, however, does not fit the frequency type for the simple reason that the avian flu has never broken out and it's never caused a pandemic. Okay? All right. So a little tricky, but that's kind of the point. The interpretation matters, and understanding the differing types matters for the last half of the course.